Welcome back, everyone. Time to round up a big topic from the week. A district judge has declared the state's school finance system unconstitutional for a second time. Judge John Dietz reaffirmed his 2013 ruling that public school funding remains inadequate, even after the legislature restored more than $3 billion in aid. The judge's ruling also says the quote, Robin Hood system doesn't share funding fairly between wealthy and poor districts. And he took the extra step of blocking the state from using portions of the current system to pay for schools. That part of the ruling remains on hold until next year, he says, to give lawmakers time to fix the deficiencies. So how should the legislature fix such a broken system? That's our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you on our Fox 26 Facebook page. You can also send a tweet. Be sure to use the hashtag Fox26forlife. Joining us live in the newsroom is our legal analyst, Chris Tritico, our news analyst, Mustafa Tamiz, and public policy analyst, Jackie Bally. All right, how do we go about fixing this one, guys? Well,
this has been a long. First, I just have to say we have to acknowledge that Sam Houston State University won last night their home opener 55-20 against Alabama State. So we will be renewing the tradition of wearing the tie every time they win. Congratulations, Sam Houston, the best university in Texas. This has been this has been an ongoing battle for a great number of years. The Texas legislature has refused to take serious steps to adequately fund Texas public schools as they are required to do by the Texas Constitution. And I find in Judge Dietz's opinion a sentence that I think is very, very important. He says that the legislature has failed to meet its constitutional duty to suitably provide for Texas public schools because the funding system is structured, operated, and funded so that it cannot provide a constitutionally adequate education for all Texas school children. That's as strong as it gets, Mustafa, in saying that the Texas legislature has flat refused to do the duty that we elected them to do.
It's not only the school districts and the school financing process is broken, our legislature is broken. We can't seem to get things right. We can't seem to even focus on things that are important. You know, $5.4 billion that they cut out of the system. We let go of 11,000 teachers, and when they refunded it, they didn't fund it back to its original size. Something has to be done about education because the gap between the rich and the poor is growing because we're not educating our children anymore.
And Jackie, this is going to have to come back on Dan Patrick, I think. He was in charge of the Education Committee when they cut $5.4 billion. He now campaigns saying, I gave them back $3 billion. The judge just Friday said, nope, that's not right. It's not working. What's the answer?
And you're going to see the state take it to the appellate, and you're going to continue to see both sides fight, and we'll see what the appellate court has to say about this ruling whenever the state takes it. I don't think any Republican or Democrat is saying that our current school financing system is not broken and needs help. I think everyone's saying that. I think where you're seeing the disagreement in the legislature and with teachers and administrators is how that's going to happen. The CEI, which is how they determine how the cost is going to be, how the funds are going to be distributed, it's over 20 years old. So I think, first of all, when we go back into the session, that's one thing we have to look at. We have to maybe look at the sunset process and put it into school finance, because instead of having school finance being litigated continually, because that's what we're seeing when both sides are taking it to the court system, the legislators are going to have to continue to put it back into the education committee.
We'll come back to that, but it's not both sides taking it. It's the school district suing the state because the legislature won't fund it. We'll come back to that in a minute. I'm going to go to Sally. She's monitoring our social media.
We'll take a look at some of what our viewers are tweeting about this morning. Shelby, who's a big public school advocate, is tweeting that well, let's pull it up and see if we can get it up here. I didn't know we weren't on. All right, here we go. Education costs money, she says, but ignorance costs more money. She's quoting part of the ruling there. The fight for equitable education in Texas continues. Scott Braddock saying, Wendy Davis says we have a crisis with an illegal school finance system. Greg Abbott delayed in issuing his opinion on it, but he later did put out a statement on the school finance ruling as well. Do you think that these two candidates are really going to come out and press hard on this?
Well, yeah, this is going to be overriding issue here for the next few weeks and leading up into the legislative session, because the legislature has refused. Greg Abbott has continued to defend the Robin Hood system in the wake of now 2 rulings saying it's unconstitutional.
Yeah, not only the legislature, but it's going to be part of the political campaigns. And if you look at the two sides, it's 600 school districts and over 5 million Texas kids on one side, and it's Greg Abbott and the Texas legislature on the other side. And this is politically a loss for Greg Abbott, but more so, it's really a loss for the Texas children.
Yeah, and the problem is that while we've been litigating this for 5 years now, no one, Republican or Democrat, has come out with a new plan that says here's a better way to do this. No one is trumpeting a new plan.
That was my earlier point, and whenever he says it's 600 school districts versus the Republicans, that's not quite accurate. That's not true at all. And whenever you were talking about what the state is going to say as a rebuttal is, look, we did put $3.8 billion in. Public education.
Back in, not fully refunding them.
We did put $3.8 billion back in. Public education is the second highest item in our budget. And we're going to say, look, we all know that public education is important, but we're going to have to look at school choice. We're going to have to look at other issues, because just pouring money, what money we don't have, is not a feasible answer.
We're going to have to leave it right there. We'll be back in a little bit with another really good topic, Sally.